What's up, guys? We're back for another video on the channel. So today it's kind of a sequel video, I guess you could say, because last week actually I did the video on 4 teams that are going to underperform and disappoint in 2021. So today we're doing the opposite. 4 teams who are going to overachieve their expectations. This does not mean they're going to be one of the best teams in the league. This is based off they're generally like expectations that almost everybody has. Like, you could see the media, the magazines, fans, like all the expectations that are generally given to them from the outside world. Those are what I'm basing this off of. These teams, I think, are going to overachieve in 2021. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. First team of the 4 is the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings, they could win the division. Even with Aaron Rodgers, they could win the division. Will they? I don't know. I think they're a lock to get second in the division. I said the Bears would disappoint. They're going to get probably third. The Vikings, on the other hand, I think are going to at least get second in the division. Maybe a wild card appearance, but I think they have a very good chance to make the playoffs and a good chance to win the division too. I think they're a really good team. Let's get into why. They're very balanced. I think their team has a good offense. They have great offense. They got the weapons on offense. They could score points. Then on defense, they have a really good defense too. They arguably have top 10 units on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. Probably top 15 maybe offensively, but defense is definitely top 10 in my opinion. Maybe top 20 offense if you really hate the offense for some reason. But I think it's a great offense, and I think it's improved. Kirk Cousins is not as bad as some people like to think. Like, yes, the Monday Night Football, it's fun to joke Kirk Cousins sucks. He doesn't. Stats are stats, so I don't really like stats. But he puts up great stats. Yes, he had a rough first half of the year last year, but he turned it on and he was good. He was really good. He's a top 15 quarterback in this league, 100%. Arguably top 10. He's a much better quarterback than people want to admit, and he can win you games. Yes, he can lose you games, but so can any other quarterback, if we're honest here. He's just a very good. He's a good quarterback who is not going to harm his team and is actually going to help his team, in my opinion. He could be better. He's not perfect, but he's not bad either, and he's above mediocre. He's an above average to good quarterback. And that's the thing. Good quarterbacks can help teams win games. I said that so weird. They can help teams win games. So Kirk Cousins is not as bad as some people want to admit. On defense, ignore me. On defense, they got a great defensive line. They got Danielle Hunter, Everson Griffin just signed, Pierce, Richardson, Tomlinson. They got so many guys on that defensive line. They got guys coming back from injury on defense. And that defense, like I said, should be really good. That defensive line is going to be really good. That defensive line is going to kill Joe Burrow week 1. That defensive line is going to be very good. It's just very good. Everson Griffin coming back, he's good, and he's always good with the Vikings. Outside of the Vikings, he wasn't that good. Danielle Hunter is a monster. Pierce opted out last year, and he's back. He's a stud. You got Richardson, Tomlinson's one of the best against the run in the game. It's just a really good defensive line. Then you got in the secondary, you got Harrison Smith. You got some good corners. You got a really good situation there on the defensive side of the ball, like I said. Then on offense, you have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. You have, Irv Smith Jr. They got some good stuff. Then the offensive line was arguably the biggest issue for the Vikings last year, and they improved it. They arguably have one of the most improved offensive lines in the league. I don't know if it's the most improved, but it's one of the most improved. They drafted Darisaw, who was a steal in the draft. They drafted Wyatt Davis. They signed a couple guys. They just did a lot on that offensive line, and it's going to massively improve it, and it's going to help Kirk Cousins at the same time. Like, the Vikings have done good work in the offseason, and they weren't a bad team last year. They were about an average team. So now add all these improvements and guys returning, plus the good coaching that they already have in Mike Zimmer, that's going to be a good team, man. That's going to be a good team. Justin Jefferson, he's going to probably be the big name on the team, but there's a bunch of other guys who could be stars, who already are stars. There's just a lot to look for the Vikings. I think the Vikings could definitely make the playoffs in a wild card quite easily, but I think they could compete with Green Bay to win the division. I think they probably could sweep the Bears and should sweep the Lions. So the division's not the toughest, but they do play the Packers, so that could go either way. But I do really like the Vikings this year, and I think they're going to be a good team. Let's go on to number 2. The Saints. The Saints are the second team, and let's get to why. A lot of people seem to think the Saints are just going to fall off this year. I don't think that's going to happen. They might not be as good as they were in the past, but they're not just going to fall off. Like, that's not going to happen. Jameis, if you watch in the preseason, he just got announced starter. Jameis should be improved. He looked improved. Obviously, he's still probably going to throw a decent amount of interceptions, but he's not going to throw 30, I don't think. And he's still got the talent to make great throws like he did in the preseason game against the Jags. I think Jameis is... I said this for the longest time. Jameis, I need to see it before I believe it. Well, I saw it, and now I'm starting to believe it. It was only preseason, but it was against the Jags' starting defense. So they basically did that again. Jameis basically played starters. So preseason or not is what it is. Jameis should be improved. And a lot of the offseason losses that they had to cut all that cap money, they weren't the biggest issues. Like the Jared Cook. Oh well, Jared Cook is not that good. I could name a couple other guys. They're just not they're not that good. Like they're okay, and they're probably going to miss some of them because they're good depth pieces and they're low-end starters, but so they might miss them, but they're not going to miss them as much as people want to admit as much as people think they will. They have good coaching. Sean Payton, whether you like it or not, the whole coaching staff, they are good coaches. And they're going to get the best out of whoever they have on that team. And I just think that's how it is. They have a great defense. That defense is loaded. They have Demario Davis, Mark Lattimore, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They got a ton of guys on that defense. The defensive line is good. The secondary is really good. I like the Saints' defense a lot. Their defense is going to be good. Their offense should be good enough, in my opinion. They're probably not going to win the division because they got to play the Buccaneers. It is a pretty decently tough division. I mean, depends on how the Panthers are with Sam Darnold, because that's a big question mark. The Falcons are going to be the Falcons, so it's not the easiest, but it's also not the toughest division. The Buccaneers are going to be the biggest issue there, and I don't think they're going to win the division, but they might be able to sneak into the playoffs. We'll see, but I definitely think they're going to at least have a winning season, and I think they're not going to fall off like people think they will. Team number 3 is the LA Chargers. All right, let's get straight to it. Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert won Rookie of the Year, and he was outstanding last year. He had one of the best rookie seasons by a quarterback ever, and I think he's going to add on to that. I think he could have an MVP caliber season. Will he win MVP? I don't know. People said the same thing about Kyler Murray. I think he played his rookie year was much better than Kyler Murray's, and I like him better than Kyler Murray already, if we're honest here. He should improve on that. He could have an MVP caliber season, and when you have an MVP caliber season for your quarterback, that's going to lead to a lot of success for your football team. So quarterback is down for the Chargers. He should be better than what Phillip Rivers was the past couple of years. He should be better than what he was last year. I don't think he's going to have a sophomore slump. Maybe he does. Who knows? But I don't think he will. He could have an MVP season. New coaching staff. The new coaching staff is huge. Obviously, going to have to see how Brandon Staley is. Apparently, he's the Sean McVay of defense. So that should improve their defense. They did need help on the defensive side. They got some defensive additions. So their defense should be better than it was last year. But the biggest thing is Anthony Lynn is not going to be harming them. The Chargers could have won 11 to 12 games if they did. If they won all the games that were. If you switch every game that was one possession. So if they won by one possession, it would be a loss instead. If they lost a game by one possession, it would be a win. They would have been a 12-win team last year. That's how close they were. That's how competitive they were last year. Now with a new coaching staff that's not like Anthony Lynn, a better coaching staff hopefully, improved on the team, got a quarterback should be better than he already was last year. And if they're not choking these games away, they could be a really good team. They could compete with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are still going to win the division, but Denver's still in an interesting situation with a quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater's their starter, so take that how you will. They're a good roster, but Teddy Bridgewater is their quarterback. The Raiders are the Raiders, but the Chargers, man, they got a lot to look at this year. Like if they don't choke, then and if they win those games that are one possession, they could be a really, really dang good football team next year. Plus, they improved the offensive line. Justin Herbert, one of the biggest issues he had to deal with last year was the fact that the offensive line was terrible. They added Rashawn Slater. I don't know how he dropped to them in the draft, but he's been a stud during camp. He's been a stud during preseason. He's been better than Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell's had some struggles, but either way. And they added some other offensive line help. That offensive line should be much improved to what it was before. And it's like, come on. How can you not like the Chargers this year? They've improved from an already solid team. They were really close to it last year. This year, I think they're going to go over the hump, and I think they're going to be a good team. It's that simple. All right. The fourth and final team that I think is going to overachieve expectations this year is the Washington football team. A lot of people still think Washington... A lot of people do think Washington's going to win the division, but I've seen a lot of people say Dallas is going to win the division. I've seen a lot of people say New York's going to win the division. I already talked about New York last week. I'm not high on them. But yeah, Washington is going to be really... Washington is a team that could go to the NFC Championship game. They could go to the Super Bowl. I think they are that good. Obviously, they got questions at quarterback, but let's look at this. Last year, with Alex Smith at quarterback, who was their best quarterback last year, they were 5-1. 5-1. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were one of the best teams in the league at that time. They beat a bunch of teams that they should not have beat. Then they were the best team to play against the Buccaneers in the playoffs. Washington, when they don't have a quarterback losing them games, like they had Dwayne Haskins was losing them games. Kyle Allen was, I don't know if he was necessarily losing them games, but he wasn't really doing anything, and he wasn't even really game managing. So arguably, he was losing them games too. When they had just a game manager quarterback who's about as game manager as you physically can get with Alex Smith, they were winning games. Give them Fitzpatrick or Heineke, who is better than Alex Smith was, and dang, you got an improved quarterback situation who will not necessarily lose you games. I like Heineke. It's probably going to be Fitzpatrick as a starter, either way. So that's a big thing. They would have won way more games than they did last year if they did not have Haskins starting for so long and Kyle Allen starting for so long. If none of that happened, Washington wins a lot more games than they did last year. They have an easy division. Dallas is going to stink again, in my opinion. Giants are going to disappoint and probably stink, in my opinion. Philadelphia is going to stink. They got a really easy division again. They've really improved their weapons, too. They added Terry McLaurin. What? They did not add Terry McLaurin. They added Curtis Samuel. They added Diami Brown. They improved on the offensive line by drafting some guys. It's just, they got Samuel Cosme. They really improved this offseason. They've only improved. They have arguably the best defense in the league. They're top 3, 100% in my opinion. They could be 1, they could be 2, they could be 3. But they're arguably the best defense in the league, and they're guaranteed to be top 3. They remind me of the 2017 Jaguars. Obviously, the Jaguars' defense in 2017 was better than the Washington defense is now, but Washington's offense is better than the Jags' defense back then. So Washington's actually more balanced than we were in 2017. And the whole reason why I always just, whenever I see Washington right now, I think of the 2017 Jaguars. A team that's got an quarterback situation, an offense that's not the best. I think their offense is better than ours, so their offense actually is not necessarily as bad as ours was. Our offense was okay. An offense that won't necessarily lose you games. Washington actually has an offense that could probably win you a game or two. Not a game or two, but actually could win you some games, so shoot, screw that. And they got a great defense. The whole point is that whole amazing defense with an offense that's much lower than your defense is, but is not terrible. Got an interesting quarterback situation that's like, could be better. But yeah, when I hear 2021 Washington football team, I think of 2017 Jaguars. And that's just a big comp for me. I know it's probably an unpopular opinion. Some people are probably going to call me out for being stupid for that. That's just what I felt. That's been my gut feeling about this team for the longest time. I'm really excited for Washington to see it this year, and I think they could go to the NFC Championship game. I think they're that kind of caliber team. They're going to be really good. I think they could win 11, 12, I don't know about 13 games, but they could definitely win double-digit games this year, and they're going to be really good. They're going to easily win that division, in my opinion. And overall, I just really like Washington this year. And yeah, those are my 4 teams that I think are going to overachieve expectations this year. Let me go. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree, what you guys would change, like what teams you think will overachieve, what you think about these teams. If I'm wrong, why? comment all that below. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, do all of that. Make sure to follow my Twitter as well, link below. Make sure to go watch the podcast from Friday, where we cut the roster to 53. Make sure to stick around for this week. The podcast is going to be doing season predictions. So it's just so much stuff for the podcast. Make sure to stick around. Go watch other videos. Do everything. Comments below. Podcast, Twitter, everything. You get the gist. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.